43.
42. 41.
40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30. 29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics. And yes, we have a great show tonight because I'm not going to do anything but push the buttons behind the scenes here. We have Jerry Lopez coming on tonight to do the hosting, and we got Andrew Ireland. Ought to be a good show for us tonight. And I do see the whole panel back there. So, Jerry, you've already commanded more respect than I ever get because usually I'd start seeing people pop on about 5 minutes into the monologue here. But first things. Just wanted to say that a hot topic going around town now is this deep fake video going about House of Representatives guy's wife and Micah Beckwith's crew and all that. And man, all I got to say is get your popcorn out and wait because there's still a lot of stuff to unfold here. I have my theories on it, and too bad I can't be on tonight with my tinfoil hat on because I have some theories about that. But that's enough about that. Let's get to the show because Andrew Ireland, hot representative. He's freshman, I guess technically still a freshman representative, but man, he's hitting all the right chords, talking the language people want to hear. So we're going to have an interview with him tonight, and the panel's all ready to go back there. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Indy, Spanglish, or Jerry Lopez. Jerry, what is happening?
What is going on, brother? Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come on here and host today. Heck of a show. My guy Andrew Ireland's going to be on here, so you know he's going to bring it. And this kind of feels like Shane Gillis hosting SNL. So I got a monologue ready. I'm ready to get after it.
Well, good, because I really, the Rush Limbaugh, factor. He would always get a host that was worse than him. I'm not very smart because I'm just not very smart. I mean, people already know that about me. So I know you're going to do a fabulous job. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, and you just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll bring on people or whatever. So your monologue, and just tell me when you want to.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jerry Lopez. Some of you may know me by Indy Spanglish. I appear on WIBC. I host from time to time with Rob Kendall or Hammer and Nigel Casey as well. You can catch me. It started out on Twitter. And I'm first generation American. My family's from Cuba. I'm a military vet. I'm a kid that was raised on food stamps. I was raised by as a kid whose mom couldn't pronounce the vocabulary words. I'm a very, pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of guy. I am the example. So expect nothing easy from me because it's literally if I can do it, then anybody can do it. So let's go ahead and bring on everybody else and let's get into our guests and let's have a heck of a show.
Heck yeah,
There
Jerry.
they are. There they are.
Here we are.
Yeah. Welcome to everybody, especially my guy, Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Good to see you.
Awesome. Hey, a little bit different than WIBC. I do not have to give you softball here, sir. So we're gonna jump right into this. So I know a lot of people would call you easily the freshman of the year at the State House. I don't think there's really even a second place for that. But what more are you looking to do? Because it doesn't seem like you can be the freshman you are and just kind of sit on your laurels at this point. The work's got to keep happening. So what gave you the confidence to come out running from the beginning? Also, like, what are you looking at doing later on this year, next year?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I think it starts with knowing that you're not going to be there forever. You're not really living, in government for the rest of your life. You're there to do some really good work, and then you're going home. So when you're not worried about the next election and, trying to please the right donors, I think you can do a better job. As far as looking ahead, we've had some really big wins just in this first session, but one of the big pieces for me is violent crime in Indianapolis, particularly on the South Side. The people I represent, they're fed up with what's going on. I want to make sure we have tools at the state house to address the problems that our local leaders clearly aren't capable of addressing themselves. Crime is one of them, but frankly, too, you look at our local roads or local infrastructure, it's failing too, not because of what the state's doing, but because we have local leaders who are not capable of doing their jobs. So it's time for us to step in and get the job done.
Yeah, and you've talked about local leaders, and one of the things you talked about specifically, I think you may be the only one, you may be the tip of the spear on this one, is being able to recall prosecutors or anybody really that's duly elected that isn't doing their job. How is that looking as far as votes? I don't want to call this the Ryan Mears bill, but that's kind of what started it, is the catch and release. You could call it that. How is that looking? Is that looking like it's going to come up for a vote? What is that looking like?
Well, it's like playing poker, right? You never count them before you're done. But I'll say this: I think there's a lot of appetite. You've seen it from the governor as well, of really doing something. And all of the above sort of approach at this point, where whatever we can get across the finish line to start reining in rogue prosecutors, reining in rogue judges, whether that's impeachment, whether it's giving the governor some powers, whether it's some more state involvement directly in local affairs. Again, at the end of the day, what people are focused on is not the procedure. They're focused on the solution, which is making sure that you have safe streets. And that starts by having somebody else in the prosecutor's office, or at least giving the current prosecutor enough incentive to actually do his job in the first place.
Sure. And I have one more question, and then we'll just sit it around in the room, because I'm sure everybody has questions they love to ask you. My family's from Cuba, which is why it makes me very hesitant to give the government very much power at all. Wouldn't it be a dangerous game to give you, a duly elected person, the right to recall somebody that we've elected by votes, even if I don't agree with the job that he's doing? Why should I say, Andrew Ireland, you don't agree with Ryan Mears, so you can recall him, even though the voters of Marion County overwhelmingly supported him?
Well, I'll tell you, I think the danger is the other way around, actually. So right now we have a system where we're supposed to have separation of powers. The state government creates criminal laws, and then prosecutors go and enforce those. Unfortunately, right now, we have a state government that creates criminal laws, and then you have a prosecutor here in Marion County who chooses which ones he does and doesn't like. He stands in the shoes of a state lawmaker and says, this is the law the way I see it moving forward in Marion County. So what I'm trying to do is really restore the system the way it should be, to ensure that you have a prosecutor who enforces the law. And if you don't like the law, then run for state rep, vote for the right person, get those laws passed, change the law. But you cannot, as prosecutor, go and play policy maker. And that's the problem we have right now.
So it's not a matter of him creating policy. You're not enforcing the policy on the books, in your words.
That's right.
Okay. Well, let's send this around the room. I'm sure Brad, Lucy, Tiffany all have questions they want to ask that pertain to Marion County. Also, some rumors about the SOS. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
That was a good tease. I like that. That was a good tease. Okay. So I'll step right in. So, a couple months ago in Fishers, we had a home invasion up in our Del Webb community, 55 plus community. Lady left her garage door open, and two gentlemen, wrong word, two thugs made their way into her home, assaulted her, took her purse, things of that nature. And they were getting off work. But what we found out after they were apprehended was, of course, they were career thugs from Marion County and had not been prosecuted when they had the chance. So I think definitely my opinion about this is changing, because so much of the crime's going to bleed over into Hamilton County or Fishers, where I'm elected. I'm going to have a problem. So my question would be, if we are to pass this bill to get prosecutors replaced if they're not doing their job, what provision is there in the bill? Who replaces them, and how? Who and how do we replace them?
So I'm open to options, right? Typically, if you have impeachment, it is still a local replacement. My sincere hope is, frankly, that there are Democrats in Marion County with law licenses that don't believe in lawlessness. And in fact, the guy before Ryan Mears, Terry Curry, was a Democrat as well as predecessor. And he was a Democrat. He did just fine, though, still at the job. So I think it's more of an individual office holder problem as opposed to even a political party. And so, I would just say that I think that process in itself is pretty strong. And if you pick another rogue prosecutor, I'm okay with going back to the state house and using the tools we put on the books to get rid of that person too. I just want somebody who will enforce the law, Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter.
This is the second episode that we've had in a row now, though, that talks about the state taking over part of Indianapolis. And I don't know how that's just not government overreach to the point where the local government won't be able to ever get that back.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, we waited for the local government, Brad, for a long time to try to do its job. I mean, the governor right now, I think, has been putting out a warning of clean up your own mess, so we're going to clean it up for you. And I think he's right. I mean, you cannot let your capital city, a place that has within 25% of the GDP just in Marion County alone, you put the donut counties in there. I mean, that is the heart of the state economically, for tourism, for everything. You can't let it burn to the ground because you've got local leaders that want to choose lawlessness over doing their jobs.
Yep. I mean, I don't have a response to that one.
Well, I, of course, have my own questions.
Everybody makes their own decisions. And but that's it, though. That's like local government.
Let me say this, right?
The
folks in Hamilton County didn't get a vote in this. The people in Greenwood didn't get a vote in this. If you let all the donut counties vote on what's going on in Marion County too, I guarantee you they're not going to vote for Ryan Mears or Joe Hogsett or some of these other dummies that we keep sending back that keep causing these same problems.
Yeah, but that's part of living where you live. You don't get to vote where you don't live. I mean, I used to live by Chicago. We never got to vote on Chicago issues. Granted, it was a different state, but it's
Brad, I agree with you, but I think that where we are right now, it's starting to bleed over. So let's say if those two guys, what if you've got criminals that you're not prosecuting who, heaven forbid, kill somebody? And there was an opportunity to put them in jail for a lesser offense. And we know with criminals is that, they just get better. They go from, one crime to another. They graduate in terms of intensity and also ferocity of the work that they do because it's a career. But when you start to impact people who have nothing to do with it, it's like, wow, like something's not quite right. And enforcing the small laws, if you can't do the small things, can you do the big things? What if they had some capital murder cases? I mean, if you can't do the little things, can they do the big things?
But how is it not a support system thing, though? Not just a complete government, overreach or like a takeover.
It has to get to court first, Brad, and that's the problem. Is Ryan Mears is giving these sweetheart catch and release deals. And for example, do you remember the young lady that was killed in front of the daycare when she was dropping off her kid? Yeah. That guy should have never even been in jail or should have never even been released to be able to kill her. And then he went on to kill a sheriff while in custody. So, I mean, some of these people have no business. And I'm not talking about the kid that's caught up on like trespassing. Okay, we shouldn't slam the door on that kid, or the kid that's caught up on like a curfew. Okay, don't slam. But we have these repeat offenders. We like to call it mugshot on mugshot crime, where it's like, this is what you do. We've given you enough chances for the betterment of everybody. Politics aside, you don't deserve a chance to live out here with the rest of us.
Well, and I'll just say this too, right? So our justice system, we believe in second chances, that people are going to be rehabilitated for some of these minor offenses. But I don't believe in 10th, 12th, 15th, 20th chances. And right now, we have a number of cases really high profile in the news recently. They're finally paying attention to what's going on here in Indy. We had one with this, kind of serial offender where he was going exposing himself to young women in stores, for example. 49 different arrests over the last decade. 49 times. I mean, when do you finally say, no, enough is enough? We're going to put this guy in jail where he belongs, and we're not going to let him back out on the streets to keep offending citizens. I mean, that's really the issue at the end of the day, is you got to rein that in.
And the reality that I've lived in, Andrew, it feels like that person now escalates to a sexual assault case. And then we go, why was this guy ever on the street with 59 previous charges? And we have to wait for the worst case scenario every single time before we do anything. I just wonder how dangerous of a game is it for people that are elected to recall other elected officials. And maybe in the state of Indiana, I just want to call a spade a spade. I think that could, border on government overreach unless you have a special session where the voters get to vote for it. In that case, I would completely support it. Right?
And I'll tell you this too, right?
If they impeach him, somebody said, yeah, go ahead and impeach him. Like if the voters call for it, I'm fine with that because the voters are involved with it. But
I just think it sets a very dangerous precedent to go in and just remove duly elected people.
I got to tell you, I don't think it is. So if you look right now on the books, most officers in government can be impeached today, but we rarely ever see impeachment resolutions in the state government in Indiana. Not because we don't, have some gripes with other people in office, but because you use it sparingly for the worst of the worst cases. But I got to tell you, I think we are at the worst of the worst cases of what's happening right now in Marion County.
We're pretty close. Lucy, you got any questions you want to shoot over here at Representative Ireland?
Hey, I appreciate that since I'm coming in remotely. I'll tell you what, Andrew, you and I are in so much alignment on so many things because I'm personally a very conservative person. Where I see is the idea of conscience. We should be able to, within our jobs, refuse to do things that violate our conscience. And so for me, if I were a prosecutor, I wouldn't prosecute people that were nonviolent and were, using marijuana. Regardless of the quantity, I don't care. So when you say that Ryan Mears is not prosecuting things, I'm 2.5 hours south of Indianapolis, living in the glorious farmlands. I'm not facing the problems that Marion County voters are. But is Ryan Mears literally letting out people that are going and committing murder? Because that would be dereliction of duty.
Yes, actually, that is exactly what's happening. A very prominent case. I'm sure you saw it in the news just a couple months ago. Baby Zara, this little 5-year-old girl who was hung by her father. I mean, literally hung by her father.
Oh my God, no.
Disgusting. But here's the kicker. He had 2 sweetheart deals along the way. One, there was a rape and battery case where he had raped the mother and batterized the child when she was a baby. And he got a sweetheart deal for that. And then literally the week before he murdered that 5-year-old child, he got another sweetheart deal after having an invasion of privacy case. I mean, those are the kind of things, again, that, they really keep me up at night because that is a totally avoidable situation. That man should have been sitting in a jail cell for what he did. If not, some of the other solutions we can talk about too. But that, to me, that's the kind of thing where a prosecutor royally screwed up and that person is out and they caused that problem. And if we would have stepped in earlier, we would have reined this in. I don't think we would have had that sort of situation.
I totally agree with that.
So Andrew, just to spitball here, and I know I'm asking you to do basically the impossible, but what benefit would it give to Ryan Mears to give these people sweetheart deals?
Well, I got to tell you, I think it's ideological and it's political, right? I mean, I got to say,
at the sake of your city, though, you're letting people out, but they're just ruining your own constituents.
Yeah.
Hey, trust me, I hear you. And I hope that voters wake up and they realize what's going on. Democrat voters are their primary in particular, because there are Democrats with law licenses here in Marion County that believe in law and order, that believe that the prosecutor is there to actually enforce the law. We might disagree on the specifics of one policy here or there, but at the end of the day, they understand that their job is to hold violent criminals accountable. But Ryan Mears is not one of them. And unfortunately, there is a radical portion within the Democratic Party right now. Particularly if you look at primary voters, there is a left-wing socialist group out there that really do push for these policies. I mean, they want this sort of anarchy-type approach to law and order where we let the criminals back out because they think it's the system is the problem, not the individual. I think the individual lawbreaker is the thing we need to scrutinize, not the system.
Yeah, it's even the way that they talk about it, calling people justice involved instead of criminals. I mean, they make it sound
get the hell out of here. Are you serious?
They make it sound like the system has come for them instead of them doing something illegal. And I understand that, there are ways that people live and different things that they do. And, a lot of times I feel like we draw this line around Marion County and maybe we call it 465, and whatever happens in 465, the majority of people are okay with. But when it comes outside of 465, then we all have a problem. And right now, we all have a problem.
Yeah.
Like what Jerry was saying, it's that's where, a lot of businesses are. That's where, convention goers go. I mean, it's the jewel of our state. and it's not shining like it could, because we all know the truth. You might be here for a weekend for Gen Con, and we know that they've moved out the homeless people. They brought in some food trucks. We put a mural up on that big hotel to draw your attention away from all the other stuff that's going on. And we, the citizens, we know that it's not always like that. And you know what I thought was interesting in the newspaper on Monday? Were there no murders in Marion County over the weekend? Because there was nothing in the newspaper. I was like, wow, it must have been a really great weekend. There were no mass shootings. There was nothing about curfew. There was nothing about young people. There was nothing about any gun violence. And
No, at the state fair, wasn't there like a fight?
Well, it didn't reach the Indy Star. So I'm like, are we starting to hide the crime now? What are we doing?
Well, Tiffany, to your point, I mean, I got to tell you, it's amazing. Is for years the media's kind of downplayed this issue of it's not an issue. Oh, it's just part of being in a large city. But violent crime happens, and typically it's just gang-on-gang violence. So therefore, don't worry about it. But I mean, I think people are smarter than that, and they've been seeing it for years and talking about it. I think the media is finally just starting to catch up, and now people outside of Marion County are hearing about it. But the people that have lived here, at least the people in my district, they all know what's going on. They don't go downtown at night for that reason.
I would like to bring up what Yvonne's saying. Am I getting, can you guys hear me? Yeah, because I'm getting this weird static, and I don't know if it's one of you or if it's me. Andrew, this is something that I think is important to talk about, because in your position in the State House, you might know the temperature, which way the wind is blowing. We have crazy, stupid stuff coming from the federal government, like you can't protest anything about AI for the next 10 years. And Yvonne had asked the questions, are you planning to regulate AI and Internet Bill of Rights, especially with what's happening in Congress? So that's something that I'm always concerned about, is my state and local representatives standing in front of me and other citizens protecting us from federal government overreach. So is your general feeling that they're in our state house, that people have the will to go against the federal government in defense of the citizens?
Well, I hope so. I'll tell you. So when the big, beautiful bill that just came through, some of the language was initially in there and it got scrapped at the last minute, was that 10-year moratorium on AI. Now, I'm one of the handful of lawmakers that signed on to a very public letter opposing that. I mean, I really don't think it's the role of the federal government to step in and tell states what they can and can't do, particularly about protecting their own citizens about technology that, is very novel. And there are risks out there. I mean, we don't want states to necessarily squash a whole industry and say that you can't do something. But at the same time, I think a state like Indiana's had some pretty reasonable protections on the books. I mean, everything from, kind of these image alterations. There was a campaign piece of that too, where you can't go and stick an ad out with, somebody doing something they actually didn't do and then run it as if that actually happened. And, things like that are very reasonable protections that this federal law, if it would have gone through, would have stopped states from doing. So I'm opposed to that. I think more generally, we've got to continue to keep our eye on the ball of, well, I like the guy in the White House right now, regardless of who's in the White House, who's in the administration. We got to make sure that the states are in control, not the federal government.
That's why I'm part of the 10th Amendment movement.
Speaking of being around, you've made a lot of noise, and maybe it's too much too soon. I know you came from the Secretary of State's office. Any interest in looking at that spot after Rokita leaves?
Well, I'll tell you this: the Attorney General is not term limited, unlike other statewide offices. So,
sure,
couldn't tell you when the Attorney General what his next move is, but I think he's doing a good job. So if he's planning on running again, be the guy that I'm going to support.
Yeah, and I've heard your name tossed around for Secretary of State. Any interest in that one?
I got to tell you, we've got a 7-month-old child at home. I think my wife would kill me if I even thought about that one. So no, that is not on the cards.
Blaming the kid. Andrew.
No interest in running around to the 92 counties?
Say that again.
No interest in running around to the 92 counties right now?
No, I don't think you're going to see a lot of travel for me for the next couple of years here. It's all hands on deck doing diaper duty and bottle feeding at 2 a.m. and all the other fun things that come with that.
Yeah, you have a lot of runway ahead of you.
Andrew, I understand that like those two, the two examples that we talked about just now, with AI and you being pro, or actually like against federal overreach in that sense, but then with the Marion County prosecutor kind of being on the opposite side of that. Is anybody kind of getting what I'm saying with this? Like how
I don't see anything that is dysregulated between those two.
What do you
I think
say?
this thinking is
it's
consistent.
saying that it's federal overreach if the government is going to stop or say, you can't do this with AI. But on the same, in the same sense, he's saying that, we need to make a law that we can recall Ryan Mears as a state,
but
for the good of
I
Marion
think that was
County
the
against
states, right?
the will of the voters.
Yeah.
Like
how
is that not
I
trickling
understand
down
your
to
argument.
the same?
I think
Because
Brad
one
is
is
saying,
federal,
is
the
it
other one is
okay for
one
the
is
state
federal,
to
one is
have
states' rights?
overreach over what local people have voted on? Is that what you're saying,
Yeah,
Brad?
it's more about the local vote. It's like, and each one is trumping like the smaller unit. And number one, I don't see that either one is good. Like, I mean, like there shouldn't be overreach coming down from upon us, I feel like I think we should be more.
But isn't it the role of the government to do for the people what they cannot do for themselves?
No,
sounds
perish
scary.
that thought. No,
That's a
I'm
great
from the
great
government.
quote.
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help you. No thanks.
Yeah, that's exactly what popped in my head was the
Well,
Reagan.
and I'll put it this way. Listen, I'm all for local control. The decisions, if we can make them locally, great. I think that's almost always preferable, but it's not a suicide pact. You don't get to burn, particularly a capital city down. And frankly, that's what's going on right now. I mean, you can give local control to Ryan Mears, but in return, then you're going to get a bunch of, drug dealers and other individuals who really should be behind bars that are doing some pretty terrible crimes, but instead they're going on to Greenwood and Carmel and reoffending. If that means that I got to violate a little bit of local control principle to make sure we actually get the basic jobs of government done, I'm okay with that.
All right.
And I think it's big that you're saying, listen, I realize it's going to be a Democrat. I'm not even asking to take the city over. I need them to elect better Democrats on that side for their own city.
That's right. No, I tell you, I think I'm giving you a pretty easy compromise here. I mean, we can go the Mike Young route if they want instead. We'll just.
No, but I feel like
control the city if that's what the city prefers. But
what are your thoughts on
I
that?
prefer to never have to use these tools. I just want Ryan Mears to do his job.
What are your thoughts on the Mike Young route? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting, right? I'll tell you this. I think some of the focus initially when I saw it come out was on policing. Policing is the one thing that I actually think we do well in Marion County. IMPD does a very good job. I'm not worried about that piece. If they ever need help from state police, obviously we should be giving them that support. But generally speaking, that piece of it is doing just fine. It's everything else in Marion County that goes wrong. So again, I'd really focus on the courts. I'd focus on the prosecutor. And frankly, too, there are other things that we can start looking at the state house. And one you'll see from me is just like on roads and maintenance infrastructure where the state can step in and try to really make sure that we have the basics done right if the local government isn't capable of doing it.
Now, Andrew, you're an attorney. Do you think there's an actual way that the state can go after parents for their kids doing different things, such as multiple, habitual trespass or anything that happens downtown? Or do you think it's just a pipe dream they kind of tell us?
So there are already some laws on the books actually to do that. I will say they're a little tougher, right? Because you've got to really kind of dig into the facts here to find if the parent is the one that, is part of this. Say, for example, these kids that come downtown and they bring a gun, they're 12 years old and they shoot one another. How did they get there? So now we got to find out, and mom and dad know, should they have known? Were they the ones that drove them down? I mean, it's just one more attenuated step from the underlying crime by the minor in the first place. So it's a little harder, but we have laws on the books. It really just requires, again, a prosecutor that has the will to do the extra mile to really get the job done of prosecuting those individuals. And I support that. I mean, again, if you're a parent and you take your 12-year-old downtown at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, and that's negligence to me. But I mean, particularly too, if you don't know where your kid is at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, that's bad too. I mean, I cannot imagine having a 12-year-old child, a 13-year-old child, a 14-year-old child. I mean, these kids that are downtown doing these things as a parent, not knowing where my kid is on a Saturday night, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 a.m.
So like we know you're
Kid is
fighting
like
to get that
honest with
cross.
their parents, though. Just
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I highly doubt that those kids were like dropped off or like that. I think that they were probably gone for the majority of the day. They probably lived their own life.
I'll tell you, Brad, I mean, I've talked to some of our local IMPD officers that have dealt with this. And one of the things they brought up is they literally see grown adults dropping these kids off at 10, 11 o'clock at night downtown. Now, I think, starting to actually enforce the curfew, that message has gotten out, and you see a little bit of less of that just in the last couple of weeks here. But before that, I mean, again, there are a lot of stories that I've heard. I'm not on the ground, so I can't tell you for sure. But what they're seeing is literally individuals that at least appear to be parents dropping these kids off.
Well, shit. That's yep.
I
hope that's not
well,
true.
shit, that's a problem.
Like, I don't understand that logic.
But the other part of that is when my daughter was 10th grade at Cathedral, young adults would drop them off at a house party and the police came, and some kid was doing shots and the police came, the ambulance came, the fire truck came. There were Cathedral kids running everywhere. Kids are kids.
Nobody's shooting anybody. That's the game.
No, that kid almost died though.
Yeah.
He almost died.
Here's my thing, Andrew. I know you've been on this social media run for changing the welcome to Indiana signs. All right. I know this is like you've kind of grabbed that sign by the horns and you're running it across the state. You hate those in Indiana signs, don't you?
I mean, it's not just me. I got to tell you, I'd say most of our caucus and several of the Democrats in the House too would love to see that change. It is how we ever got to that sign. I got to tell you, it looks like some mass ass intern that came back and, in the middle of the night came up with that on Google Paint or something. I mean, it is terrible. It is embarrassing. And don't take my word for it too. I mean, you ever watch the Twitter account, the X account, Midwest versus everybody? They rank the state welcome signs. We are the very bottom of all state welcome signs in the Midwest, along with Illinois. That is never a spot we want to be.
All
yeah.
right.
So any word on when we will become the crossroads of America again?
I hope any time now. Listen, I've told the governor's staff I'm here to help however we can put the language together. And it's interesting, you can actually do it for almost nothing because one, INDOT, when they put signs up, they actually replace them every few years just for wear and tear. So the signs fade, they get torn up, and so they put a new one up. But two, a lot of the signs with this new design on it are actually under that sign is still the Crossroads of America sign.
That's
they put
hilarious.
a laminate sticker over it. So it's still there. You just have to strip the sticker off.
Wow. So what? So we know about the
Says,
signs.
wait a minute, but it says more to discover in Indiana.
Yeah, like crappy signs.
Potholes.
I think as a standalone, it might not make a ton of sense, but maybe in the context of the whole campaign, it's more to do in Indiana. Kind of that play, that pun, and I had nothing to do with it.
Indiana. It sounds like a bad Indiana Beach commercial.
Well,
Our
what about
the motto since the early 1900s has been Crossroads of America.
Yeah.
I think it belongs on the sign.
I love it.
We can go back.
So we know
about their leaving office.
So we know about the signs. We know about the rogue prosecutors. We know about a couple other things you've done earlier. What are you really looking to tackle this second half of the year leading into next year? Like what things can we see you author? What kind of things are you pushing right now that are top of the table?
So a couple of pieces. I'll tell you, I think there's a really serious conversation about death penalty in Indiana coming up. I think you've seen the governor tee that up a little bit for the state house this next session. And one of the pieces in my mind is regardless of what you think of the death penalty, I mean, regardless if you're for it or against it, if it's, the law on the books today in Indiana, I think you should have effective and humane means to enforce it. And so there are a couple of different methods that, I've been looking at very seriously and studying, talking to attorney general's offices in other states where, other options are on the table. Firing a squad is one of them. You've got the nitrous hypoxia is, I think, another one. But at the end of the day, having these sort of other tools on the books to carry out what is, a lawful death sentence in the state of Indiana. And so that's something that I'm going to be focusing on very, closely coming into next session. Another one, really reaches here at home. I think I talked about it just a little bit. Is we have some real road maintenance issues here in Indianapolis. The state of Indiana is going to be sending $50 million to Indianapolis over this next biennium in road funding. What I'd like to do is encumber some of that money and use it for basically a market-driven program to allow private contractors to go and do basic road maintenance within Indianapolis to really fill the void that the city hasn't. When you have potholes where you're not waiting months at a time to get them filled, private contractor sees it, they take a photo, they send a bill in to the state, to DPW, they get the job done and they get paid. I mean, I think that's a much better system than what we have today, where I send a ticket into the city, they never show up, I send another one in, and I still got a pothole 2 years later.
So
Yeah,
I think
you're trying to create
maybe on that same thread with that 50 million that you guys are going to give Indianapolis, I think that you guys should really want to see how it's spent and how much of that actually goes to the roads versus going to no bid contracts or cronies or work that does not get done, because therein is going to tell a really big story, because I can tell you $50 million is not going to go into your roads.
Well, and I'll tell you, you're totally right. And not just me, there are a number of members in the state house, particularly Republicans in the Indianapolis area, particularly credit to Senator Young, Senator Freeman, who in the past, we've given money through community crossings grants and whatnot from the state to local government to do infrastructure projects generally. No surprise, Marion County seems to put, bus lanes and bike lanes over actual lanes of traffic. And so you see all of these stupid pet projects where this money goes. So one of the things we put in the road funding bill this year, we've never done it before, was Marion County, when you get this money, you can only use it for one thing, and that is paving roads. Can't use it for bus lanes, no sidewalks, no bike lanes, none of that. You will use it for paving roads or you won't get the money. I think it's an important first step, but I hear you. We got to audit it on the other end too, is even if it's going to roads, it shouldn't be for some crony deal. We want to make sure it's actually every penny is going to fill the potholes, repave the roads, get the job done. Because I got to tell you, I am just so sick of driving over pothole after pothole that sits there for month after month.
Yeah.
But Andrew, to get that money, what about property taxes though? Like, how is that gonna? Because that was kind of a big push, I think, from the election. Not necessarily you, but basically every other Republican talking about property taxes, and I feel a lot of people feel that they got kind of hosed on, on any kind of advancement of it. So, yeah, how is that going to look the next session, I guess?
Well, listen, I've not been shy about the property tax issue. I think property taxes should be eliminated. They are clearly one of the worst ways to tax an individual. It's unrealized gains being taxed. We did that in other systems, like Kamala Harris, when she proposed we have a capital gains tax, for example. Republicans freaked out about that, but when you do it with somebody's home here in Indiana, all of a sudden, apparently it's A-OK. I think we did some meaningful improvements. I voted against SB 1. It was one of, I think, 3 Republicans in the House and a handful of individuals in the Senate as well that voted against it, because SB 1 at the end of the day only works if you trust your local government to not make up the difference through income tax or other sources. And I don't trust the Marion County government as far as I can throw it. I don't know if I made that very clear tonight. The city county council and I, we don't see the world the same way. And so, I will say, though, I don't think it's part of the roads conversation so much. We talk about roads funding. You're talking about gas tax, for example, kind of tolls conversation as a piece of that's come up. Property tax, we're kind of looking at some of the other local services. The biggest piece of that being your schools, for example.
So here's a question, and this is something that needs to be said. As much as we talk about left and right, when it comes to people making policy, people affecting my life, people that I should be mad at, they all are on the right, because that's who's running my city, my county, my state. All right. When we look at things like the sin tax, right, where cigarettes went up $2 overnight, we look at gas tax, we look at property tax, we look at local income tax. All these taxes have kind of gone up or frozen at a rate that's unsustainable, right? My issue is, I understand that there are certain classes, and yeah, people who live in Hamilton County are not upset to pay that tax because you have a certain expectation with paying that tax. But for people like my abuela who bought a house for 150,000 and now that house is being assessed at 750,000, how do we make sure people like that don't lose their homes because they just can't pay a tax on an assessed value, which is not even a realized gain?
Great. Hey, and I filed a bill actually to try to address some of that language. I think ultimately made its way in. A lot of it didn't. But the big piece to me is if you're not going to eliminate property taxes, then you have to cap how fast somebody's bill can grow, whether it's a 2% rate, a 1% rate, a no percent rate, whatever that may be. You've got to have some sort of hard cap of how fast your bill can grow. That way, when you buy a house, when you're my age, for example, my wife and I, we emptied our bank account to buy our first home. We know from that day until 40 years from now what the maximum amount of property taxes I may be on the hook for. Without that kind of stability, I mean, that's exactly what's happening is you have, particularly, I think, the retirees and then on the younger end as well, individuals who do not know what they're signing up for. You get 20 or 30 years down the road and they cannot pay that bill. And it's not because they're rich, it's because the government assesses their house, for this, massive number. And maybe they can sell it on the market for that number. That means they have to sell their home to get that number.
Andrew, I've got you one better. We've got young people, young couples like yourself who've bought homes, brand new construction, Hamilton County, McCordsville, Westfield. They get into these homes and they've bought high just because things are expensive. And they get that first property tax bill and they can't swing it. People's taxes are going up $200, $300, $500 a month, and all of a sudden they can't make their mortgage. And what gets them is to sell their homes. They can't sell them because they bought high, so they can't even sell for 8% more than they bought it for because the market's not there. House values are going down because of the interest rates, and people cannot sell their
It's
homes
because they're too damn expensive,
tax
though.
bills are killing them. Brad, I'm talking about people who've bought homes and they've gotten their tax bill. The growth on those taxes is it's incremental, it's infinite. There's nothing in there to stop it. And these kids can't pay their tax bills. They can't handle their mortgage anymore, and they cannot sell because they can't afford to sell. They don't have money to bring to the table to sell. We're starting to see more and more short sales.
But Tiffany, there is still that side, like of people looking to buy homes in a market where homes that are for sale, like, even in my town, is ridiculous. Like affordable housing is a thing where I live, at least. So it's it's weird that both things are happening, though.
I get the conversation about affordability, but that's not part of this conversation. We're talking about homeowners whose property taxes have gone up and now they cannot swing their mortgages and they cannot afford to sell. That's the other part of it. As much as we talk about grandma and people on fixed incomes whose tax bills have gone up and they don't have the money for it because they're not putting anything in escrow to pay their bills, you have young couples, young homeowners who have set out to have the American dream and they can't do it. So in our office, we will find people who have brand new homes that they need to sell immediately because they can't afford them anymore. You can look, I was with a client in Westfield and we're looking at this house. It's like 5.25. And I'm like, this is crazy. It's like, why is this 5.25? This should be under 5. And then you go through the history and you're like, wow, they bought it for 505. If they don't sell it for 5.25, they can't afford to sell it. And then that house was on the low end because you've got homes for 550, 565, 575. Right. $100,000, $575,000, and people bought high. And I will give a small plug for the profession. When people are buying new construction and you're buying from that associate who works from the company, you need a realtor. You need somebody looking out for you because most of these people who are upside down in new construction did not have a realtor. I don't need to be your realtor, but find somebody to look out for your best interest, so that you will understand if you're buying too high, if you're going to be able to swing it when those property taxes come through. Just make sure if you're buying a house that you have somebody working in your best interest.
And I think one of the things that like is incumbent on me to say is like the property tax mess in Indiana is because of Republicans. Like we have to own it, right? That's from top to bottom. I was at the rally at the State House. I think you were there. You know, Governor Braun rolled up his sleeves and fight. And within 30 days, he signed a bill that nobody liked at all. You know, so one of the things that you know, you talk about recalling prosecutors. I would love to live in a world where like elected officials lived on a 90-day grace period like we do as employees. All right, you have 90 days. Now let's see if what you actually said you're gonna do. Because what we're seeing far too often enough, and I don't care who you voted for, is like Epstein files day one. And it's like day 130, dude. And that's why I voted for you. But what can I do about it now? Right. So like
Yeah.
we need to set up some kind of accountability, because I think what politicians have learned is as long as they get to vote, these idiots are gonna quit watching here in the next 30 days. They don't care anymore.
Yeah. Oh, we have short memories as voters.
Yeah.
And they bank on that.
But you know, I will tell you, and Andrew, you probably agree with this, is that when we have elected people who don't do their job, they make us all look bad. And that's a lot of the heartburn, and it's conflict. It's, you know, do what you're elected to do. Don't lie to get elected, but at least do what you're going to do. Refer to your campaign promises. You know, make good on what you told people you're going to do, because if not, you make all of us look bad. And people are like, oh, I'm not a politician, or I'm not into politics. It's like, if you're elected, do what you said you were going to do. So just to give some honor to the profession, just honor your word.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir.
Hey, Andrew. So I got a real question. So in the state of Indiana, where the state house has a supermajority, all right, does the governor even matter? If you can veto everything and pass your own laws, like isn't the state house the most powerful of the branches right now with the supermajority? And I know that's not the norm across a lot of states. Indiana's different, but isn't that the most powerful place then?
It is, and it should be, and it is by design. I mean, the way our 1851 Constitution, which is the Constitution on the books in the state of Indiana, it is a strong legislature, you know, run by the people's representatives in the House, and then traditionally you had, you know, state Senate seats that were really divided kind of geographically to represent particularly rural interests in Indiana, in some way to kind of, you know, mirror what we do federally, but to give them the power to govern the state. And then you had an executive and a governor that was there really just to execute the laws that they passed, to ensure that, you know, they're faithfully executed. And I think we've done a pretty good job over time of ensuring that sort of balance still stays there. I think during COVID, maybe we got a little further away from that than we should have. But I will say that, you know, that's really an ideal system, as opposed to you have one person and a governor where, you know, kind of they're the imperial individual.
Right.
And you have a, you know, set of lawmakers over there that just sit and twiddle their thumbs. And that's largely how Congress and the federal system has become over time, even though it wasn't designed that way. Is the president is all powerful, the agencies do everything, bureaucrats make all the policy, and the people's representatives, the people they elect, really don't have much of a say in the day-to-day affairs. The state of Indiana is different, and I think we are better off for that. So I will say the governor matters very much. I think they set tone. I think they can really focus in on policies. They bring, you know, issues to the table sometimes that maybe aren't really being discussed, and they can galvanize the public in that process. But
like redistricting.
Say that again.
Like redistricting.
Hey, and that is, you know, a piece of it, right? But at the end of the day, the decision rests with the General Assembly.
But so how does the General Assembly feel about that, do you think? Not that
I could not begin to tell you. I've talked to a couple of them about other things in the last week, but, you know, we don't have big caucus meetings every day. So I couldn't tell you where the interest is. Obviously, you see in Texas what's going on, and there's some.
What do you think about that? What do you think about them going to lock up those lawmakers that are refusing to vote?
I think they should show up for work, right? I mean, you may not like what's being done there, but there's nothing illegal about it. If you don't like it, go win more elections, you know, locally there in your state house to get the job done. I mean, Texas was a Democrat-heavy state just like 20 years ago. So it's not like Democrats have never won there, but they fell out of touch with the voters. So, you know, I'm not here to play, you know, Texas politics one way or another, but I will say, I mean, in Indiana,
can we agree? Can we agree that if Texas does it, we're all doing it? Every state's doing it.
We'll
We will
see.
be next.
I could totally see Indiana going a number of different ways
Yep.
with this. I mean, frankly, I don't think it would be the most radical thing if they move forward and all
I don't
9
either.
became Republican. I wouldn't be shocked at all if we don't touch it at all. I'll be
Yep.
curious to see, kind of where Governor Braun's, the leadership, goes with this. And then 2, ultimately, what maps they start drawing if they are going to go down that road. I mean, every map is a little different, so I can't tell you how I'd vote on one way or another. But I will say this, if we're going to do a special session, I think there are some other issues that I'd really hope we'd focus on, particularly, again, the crime issue in Marion County. That, to me, is even more pressing than any sort of congressional redistricting we're talking about.
Brad, you don't look like you like that answer, brother.
Oh, I just think it's hilarious where we're going. Like, we're all just in it for the ride at this point, I think. So,
I mean, you didn't realize that when Bernie Sanders should have beat Hillary and they screwed him? You didn't realize?
Oh, no. I mean, it's been a long time coming, but when you see it just like
yeah,
playing out, like you said, like if Texas goes,
everybody goes. Yeah, everybody's gonna do it. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, this is something that happens every 10 years. I think every 10 or 5 years, every state kind of goes through. Yeah, it's there. Every 10 years they go through and say, okay, how many people live in your house and what are the ethnicities and whatever. Now I think a lot of post deportations, a lot of focus on illegal immigration. They wouldn't be doing it if they didn't think they couldn't turn some D's into R's. Can we agree with that? Like that's the whole point of this.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Okay, so since they know now, there's
the stupidest word, by the way. No, like I hate that word. It just adds like a carnival sense to the whole thing, and I hate it. It just
both parties do it. Both parties do it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we do it to benefit each other. Like I think this last time that it was done when the lines were redrawn, basically the Republicans gave Andre Carson an automatic win every election to make sure that Victoria Sparks could win hers.
And I'll tell you this. The 2021 map, so the current map, the congressional map in Indiana, while you see some Democrats out there, they'll use terms like gerrymander about it. Princeton University actually does a study on the different states, and Indiana is one of just a handful of states that has an A rating, in part because they're geographically compact, and 2, there's actually not like a strong partisan advantage. It just happens to be that regionally, that is, I mean, we're an R+20 state. Trump, Senator Banks, some of these others won this state by nearly 20 points this last election cycle. It's a very Republican state. To have 2 Democrats, honestly, is kind of a bit of an enigma versus some of our peers.
And here's the other part that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Indianapolis could be a lot worse if it wasn't protected by red states, or red counties all around it, in a red state with a red governor. It could very easily be Chicago with its deep blue state, deep blue mayor, no changes. So I think that it's a little insulated, right? But like, are Republicans at fault for just giving up on the city?
Well, I hope we don't give up. I feel like we've certainly, become a little stagnant in our approach. I got to say, too, locally, we've got to make sure we're putting candidates up that provide a really clear vision, a Republican vision, not just Democrat light, right? I mean,
so
you can't have candidates going and running for office that are going to go and sell the same vision as the Democrat running. You've got to have a conservative vision, and you got to be willing to go to inner city Indianapolis and sell it.
Yep.
And
so
Andrew, do you know Greg Merriweather?
I've seen him on the show a couple times. Yeah.
I would love for you and him to have a conversation, because the things that he wants to do and wants to see in Indianapolis, I feel like you can help him understand legislatively how that can be done, or what needs to happen for those things to happen, because there's the people on the ground, and we need to rally and we need to do stuff. But then there's the big picture. We need to organize. We need to have laws that support this. We need to have committees set up for this. And there's a way to engage government and the legislature to get things done. And I think that you and him could really have a wonderful impact in Marion County. Yeah, that's free. But I think that he would really benefit from spending time with you, because you see things like big picture, and he's just very much into like the people, the culture. There's a reason that people are doing crime, because they don't have, and the systems against them, and just how to improve the lives of people so that they can become more law-abiding, more fruitful citizens of the city. And I just think that you two would have a really good synergy.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's a little bit of inside baseball. I don't know if a lot of people know this name, but Andrew definitely will. Brian Alvey has been a part of multiple campaigns and seems to always hitch his horse to winners. Can you just tell me about the relationship you have with him, just kind of what he helps bring to the table, and what he kind of frees up for you to do?
Sure. Well, one, I think it's Brian's birthday today, so happy birthday,
No way.
Brian.
That's hilarious.
Well, it's funny. I met Brian when I was in college. I was working on a campaign for a guy down in southern Indiana. But I was still in school at IU Bloomington, and Brian was working on another campaign. We were actually kind of competing against each other, and I didn't quite know what I was doing. I was a freshman in college or something, so just kind of figuring it out. But try to work hard, try to do my best. There was one person that showed up to more events, worked the room harder, did more than I did, and it was always Brian Alvey. So I tried to get to know him a little bit, because I wanted to see what he was up to, and got to know Brian over the years. He's a great dude. It definitely has been helpful for me and a number of other I think really good conservative candidates.
Yeah.
So I'll just say I appreciate Brian.
Yeah, it's wild. Every time I feel like more often than not, when I meet someone, they're like, "Oh yeah, Brian's helping her." I'm like, "Geez, this guy has everybody these days." It seems like. So, when you look back on this first little portion, what are you happiest about, and what do you wish could have went differently?
I'll tell you, I think the biggest legislative win, and all credit to my colleagues on this one, and what, I don't think any secret, it was a pretty rough budget, particularly right at the end when it got scrambled, was keeping universal school choice in that budget, getting the job done. I'm a big advocate of school choice. Just a little background on me. And I went to charter school in high school. I went to public school, traditional public school, the rest of my days, as a kid. That charter school made a real difference in my life. I guarantee you I would not be in the state house today if it wasn't for that opportunity. It set me on a very different path in life. And I really want to make sure that every kid in Indiana has that same sort of opportunity, if not better. And universal school choice, I think, is one really big step to getting us there. They very well could have easily been pulled out of the budget. That is, a big line item. School choice in general, vouchers are a big line item. But we've got leaders that I think are very committed to that vision because they've seen the success so far of it. And so to me, of all the things we did this session, and we can talk about taxes, we can talk about these other things, but long-term, the thing that is going to make the biggest difference for our state and for families is the sort of education freedom that, Indiana allows families that a lot of neighboring states don't. I mean, look at Illinois. You could never do that sort of thing there because the teachers union owns their state house. Here, at the end of the day, we're putting families first. So to me, I think that was the biggest, real win. You talk about losses. I mean, the property tax piece is a real frustration for me. I don't think I was quiet about that at all. I think we've got a lot of work still to do, particularly in places like Marion County, where you've got, local leaders that you can put a tax on one end, you can give a credit on the property tax bill, but if they're going to turn around with income taxes and just hike those up, there's no real difference at the end of the day. Maybe we get a short-term political win, but I'm talking about the long-term fiscal win for the taxpayers. And so I think that's where the focus has to continue to be. I hope that conversation is not over at the State House. It sure won't be with me. I'm sure, you'll see more from me down the road on that one for sure.
Awesome. Well, I'll pass this around the horn another time, see if anybody has any other questions they want to ask you there.
I always have the question for politicians. If you could wave a magic wand, what's something that you would take off of the books or something that you would add?
Sure. It's a great question. So we talked a couple of I would take property taxes off the books tomorrow. There are plenty of other better ways to fund local services. And to be clear, property taxes don't go to the state government. The state government doesn't touch a penny of it. They don't spend a penny of it. It all goes to local governments. Some are pretty good fiscal stewards. Others, like the folks here in Marion County, not so much. I think we have much better tools on the books to go and handle local funding issues than to have the system we have today. And the one thing to add on the books, I mean, again, we've got to have tools to rein in rogue prosecutors, rogue judges. If we have laws on the books and you have individuals in local offices who are not willing to enforce them, there's really no point for people at the State House, at least no Court and Criminal Code Committee, because if we're going to pass something, they say we don't like it and we're not going to enforce it. I mean, that's just a heck of a system. So those are the two big things. Frankly, those are two of the three big things that I ran on from the very beginning. I'm going to continue to lean into them.
Have you watched the new South Park yet?
I have. I will admit, I enjoy South Park. I've watched it
It's great.
for a long
It's
time.
one of the best. It's the best musical movie of all time, too. Like every time.
I don't know if we go that far, right?
Oh, that they have just bangers after bangers in that show. Blame Canada.
Blame Canada, a classic. For sure.
It's a classic.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the new episode. So what did you think about the portrayal of Donald Trump, I guess?
It's a little lowbrow. I'll put it this way. I typically, Matt and Trey were a little more, nuanced and maybe a little, deeper maybe in the way they write shows. It's a cartoon at the end of the day, right? But you can still laugh at it. Not the craziest thing they've ever done. I know the media wanted to play it up as some big grand thing, but it probably wasn't their greatest episode of all time either.
No, but Cartman becoming Charlie Kirk in the next episode, I think, is going to be a good one. So that's
is that confirmed? I haven't seen that.
I think so. They got like his hair done like the Charlie Kirk way, and he's complaining that woke is dead now, so he has like no motivation to do anything because there's nothing to hate because woke is dead. So yeah, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, South Park is awesome. Everybody should watch it.
Tiffany?
So are you on the ballot next year, Andrew?
That is that is the plan. Yeah, state reps are up every 2 years.
Okay, so you're going to be campaigning in January?
Listen, we haven't put anything official out yet, but I don't think it's any secret that I think there's still some work left to do, and I think that's the plan right now.
I was just asking, how can we help you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'll be on the ballot next May, assuming Maddie and the baby let me do this for another 2 years. It's been a real honor, and that's my plan right now is to get back out and start knocking doors really this fall. When I got in this race the last time, we did it literally the day before filing day. We made the decision. It was really kind of last minute, and you only had a couple of months there to knock doors. That meant you're knocking doors in the snow, and I'm happy to do that too, but it's a lot nicer to knock doors when it's 70 degrees out in the fall than when it's 20 and there's 3 inches of ice on the ground.
Yeah.
So I will tell everybody I don't really like to endorse people at all because I've seen how this goes usually. But I will say from day one, Andrew is he's just the same. He's the same every time you see him. It doesn't feel like there's fluff. And whether or not you agree with any of his opinions, he will sit here and he'll talk to you and he'll tell you why he feels that way. And if you want to vote differently, vote differently. But he's not the kind of guy that's going to come in here and just tell you what he thinks you want to hear, which by today's standards is really refreshing. So when I get that Indiana State House All-Star ballot, brother, your freshman of the year going away.
Appreciate that.
Should we get jerseys?
We should get jerseys. Awesome. Anybody else have anything else for Andrew tonight?
No.
Thank you, Andrew, for showing up and showing out and really working in the best interest of Hoosiers. I've been really quiet this episode. Usually I'm have to be mean to somebody because they're saying stupid crap.
Hard to be mean to.
Lucy, what do you think of taxation?
It is theft. Taxation is indeed theft. And I think Andrew would agree.
That Lucy, I was all excited. I saw the episode with Micah a couple of weeks ago, and I thought I was going to get the
that was
awesome.
Oh no, and the terrible thing is I love Micah as a person, and I love God, I love Jesus. He's got a real heart but I always have to come back to the theocracy. You just have to follow the law. You can't, no matter how much you love Jesus, you can't drag people into heaven. You need to inspire them rather than suppress them.
Don't judge us by that show. That was really like a family reunion. Where
Yeah,
like
that was.
everybody should have gone home.
But at least his
everybody had one more beer and one more slice of
nothing
pie.
going on. Yeah, nothing going on in Micah's office now. He's out of the spotlight.
Dude, that thing is a mess, and I'm just backing away from it like the Homer Simpson gif where he's just like walking back into the bushes.
Into the bushes, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew, who will be the next Republican presidential nominee?
You know, I got to say, I think JD Vance is doing a really good job. He'd be really tough to beat. But, you know, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of Governor DeSantis down in Florida.
DeSantis looks great, yeah.
It's nice.
Is he wearing his little white
good
boots again?
options. I mean, look at what's going on the other side, right?
You just worry about losing elections over there, Brad. Just worry about losing elections.
90 years old. If you've got JD and Marco and you know Ron DeSantis, I mean, some of these like real heavy hitters being on the debate stage next time, it's a heck of a comparison.
Yeah, it's different when you have to work for it and you can't just make up a Russian dossier. You know what I mean? Like when you actually have to do stuff and can't just have Hillary Clinton just create treasonous things.
We don't like work.
No work.
Awesome.
No.
Well, thank you for your time, Andrew. It was awesome, man. I had a great time. I like that we can
Jerry, good interview, man. You know.
Just have a conversation. I think that's what's missing. Like, we don't have to agree, but as long as you can tell me why you feel the way you feel, then maybe we can move a little bit closer together.
Yeah, everything's not black and white.
Oh,
like we gotta
kumbaya.
Or Cuban and white either. Like
no black and white. It's black and white.
Oh, it's not June. It's not June. Relax, girl. Awesome. Well, hey, man, I had a blast with you guys tonight. Hopefully, John lets me come back and do this again sometime.
Yeah, man, that was fun.
You were amazing.
And Andrew,
really
thank you so much. Yeah,
I
appreciate it.
Great job,
Andrew,
Jerry.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody stay on. We'll go backstage.
Backstage. Keep kicking butt.
John, take us out.